40 years ago this summer, we were newlyweds spending the summer at a backcountry ranger station in Olympic National Park. We had no idea where our life together would lead us, but we both loved the outdoors and knew that trees would be a part of our life. A year later, Bryon graduated from college and was offered a job as a forester for private industry in Chehalis, Washington, halfway between Seattle and Portland, and in one of the best Douglas fir growing areas in the nation. The following year, I obtained a job as a forestry librarian, and our lives became totally immersed in forestry. We both knew we wanted to own forest land, and as we saved for the big purchase, I did a literature search on forest land ownership. We now jokingly tell our friends that we determined that it cost as much to own and raise 100 acres of Douglas fir seedlings as it did to raise one child. Since at that time the median family was 2.1 children, and we did not have any, we felt we should be able to purchase 210 acres of forest land.
It took us until 1979 to save enough money to buy our first piece of forest land, 35 acres along Lost Valley Creek that had just been clear-cut. We eagerly jumped into reforesting the clear-cut and also put a lot of effort into planting trees on 5 acres of fields along the creeks. For many years we mowed the former fields to control the mice and voles and fought frost and high water table issues. However, the biggest problem on this parcel was the invasion of Scotch broom, an exotic shrub that quickly overtopped the tiny seedlings. The chemicals available at that time did not provide good control, so Donna spent many hours crawling around on her hands and knees, finding the seedlings, while I cut the Scotch broom from around the discovered seedling with a brush saw. Sometimes we call this track our first child that went bad, but eventually the tree squeezed out any remaining Scotch broom, outgrew the frost and beaver, and now we have a very nice 32-year-old stand.
Jumping ahead 20 years, in 1999, the state of Washington imposed new and more stringent forest practice rules with wider buffers along fish-bearing streams, and we found that most of the fields that we had struggled to return to trees were now in the riparian area that we couldn't touch. A university study showed that 64% of this parcel would be locked up in buffer strips that couldn't be harvested. Our property was the site of many visits by regulatory and agency staff as solutions were negotiated to reduce the unfair burden of the new rules on small forest landowners. We were able to commercially thin to within 25 feet of the stream in 2002 in order to encourage the growth of large conifers that are desired in the riparian zone. Now we are keeping our fingers crossed that the rules will change to our advantage before we do a final harvest.
In 1981, we purchased our second parcel, 17 acres, where we built our home in a 2-acre clearing surrounded by trees. We have logged about half of this tract, and healthy stands of Douglas fir have been established. This tract does not lend itself to tours very well, but it is a wonderful home site. We continued to save our money and look for suitable forest land, and in 1987 we were fortunate to be able to purchase 160 acres with a well-stocked stand of Douglas fir. 120 acres was a 13-year-old plantation, and 40 acres was a natural stand averaging 35 to 45 years old. Nothing had been done to the property or the stand since the planting of the 13-year-old plantation, so there was lots of work for us.
This 160-acre parcel along Brockway Road soon became our favorite child. Because of the size of the tract and work that needed to be done, we have spent the majority of our time here for the last 25 years. Many different stand improvement projects were done over the years while we waited for the stands to mature. Pre-commercial thinning was done in the young plantation to reduce the stocking level from 600 to 300 trees per acre, and the slash had to be abated along the county road by burning. Pruning was done on 20 acres because at the time a mill specializing in pruned wood was supposed to be built in the local area. As the stands aged, commercial thinning with a cut-to-length processor was done to remove the suppressed trees. Not all of the work has been stand improvement, as we also have over 50 bird feeders and bird houses which need to be cleaned out each year, an extensive trail system, and every year we gather our winter supply of firewood. For the last dozen years, we've been trying to lure bluebirds, which are rare in our area, by putting up numerous bird boxes in the young plantations. Many swallows have used them, but for the first time this year, we have bluebirds using a box.
In 1999, we did the first of 4 regeneration harvests on the natural stand. Although Douglas fir grows very well on the site, we decided to try something different on the first harvest unit and replanted it to noble fir, a local high elevation species that is highly desired for making wreaths at Christmas time. We expected that this would bring an income to us in a shorter time period than another crop of Douglas fir. In 2011, we did our first harvest of 30,000 pounds of boughs and expect to continue harvest at least every other year for the next 20 years. Our management plan called for timber harvest of 5 to 20 acres every other year. However, markets and nature do not always follow a plan. Significant blowdown from winter storms in 2006 and 2007 caused us to modify our plan and do some salvage logging. Because the harvest units were very small, ranging from 1.4 acres to 3 acres, we elected to plant western red cedar and ponderosa pine. Douglas fir does not grow well in shade, and it takes a clearing of at least 5 acres to establish a good Douglas fir stand.
The major problem that we have experienced with all of our plantations is deer browse. Our 160 acres is surrounded by homes, so we don't allow rifle hunting for safety reasons. The deer flourish in the mixture of stand ages and love to eat Douglas fir and especially cedar. We protect all of our cedar with Vexar tubes 3 feet high and 6 inches in diameter. These take lots of maintenance, installing 2 bamboo stakes per tube, pulling them up as the trees grow, and straightening them when snow or animals knock them over. But without protection, it is very difficult to grow cedar in our area. We also have used lightweight mesh tubes to protect the terminals of the Douglas fir on over 10 acres of plantations. It takes about 3 summers of follow-up to keep the terminal protected as the trees grow. It has been a lot of work, but it allowed our plantations to average 12 feet in height in 5 years.
Our lives have been so immersed in forestry for the last 35 years that we can't begin to describe all of our outreach activities. We both retired from our salaried jobs at a young age and have been able to devote full time to our tree farm and forestry volunteer activities for the past 10 years. We average over 2,000 hours of labor on the tree farm each year and another 1,000 hours of volunteer work for forestry and community projects. We have both been active in the Washington Farm Forestry Association, our local small woodland owner group, for over 30 years. I have been the Washington State Tree Farm Committee Chair twice in the past 25 years, and as a tree farm inspector have done over 75 new inspections and hundreds of re-inspections. I have also been active in the Society of American Foresters. Over the years, we've been involved in the organization of numerous events and activities for these organizations. Currently, Donna is the webmaster for the Washington Tree Farm Program and the state membership chair for the Washington Farm Forestry Association. For the past 4 years, we both have worked with 2 other foresters to organize an annual forestry seminar that is sponsored by the Washington Tree Farm Program.
The most ongoing activity that we organize is the annual tour of our tree farm by 2 5th grade classes from a nearby elementary school. Just 2 weeks ago, we held the 22nd tour for that school and hosted 53 students and 20 parents. We've also held many other tours at our tree farm, including numerous tours of the Lewis County Farm Forestry Association, and last year a tour for Jamie Herrera Butler, our congressional representative. Over the years, over 2,000 people have visited this parcel, enjoying the view of our thousands of children and learning about forestry.
40 years ago, we never imagined where our love of trees would lead us. We both had fulfilling careers in the field, and now we have the satisfaction of working for ourselves on our own property. We stay fit working on the property, and stay mentally challenged as we keep up with taxes, rules, and technology. It isn't the life of leisure that some people expect in retirement, but then as forest landowners, you know what we're talking about. And to bring us back to the beginning, after relating the story of how we decided to purchase 210 acres of forest land, we then look our friends in the eye and say, our children are supporting us in our retirement. Will yours? Our lives have been filled with the joy of owning forest land and the satisfaction of volunteer activity. We are pleased and honored to represent Lewis County, Washington State, and the Western region as Tree Farmers of the Year. Thank you.